What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube or watching us on Rumble, please hit that subscribe button. Listening to us on whatever podcast platform you use, please hit that subscribe button as well. Helps us bring up our algorithms so we can keep bringing you interviews like the one I'm about to bring you right now. Two guys going to be talking on a Friday about some horror movies, myself and Mr. Wednesday 13. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I'm up early doing interviews, talking about myself all morning, watching Ancient Aliens, and having my coffee.
Nice. I'm admiring your background too. I see there's a Kiss poster background or Kiss
Yeah,
thing back
this
there.
is
Cobra Commander.
it's a big cluttered mess in here. This is we're basically leaving for tour in just a couple of days. So over here, this is our gear and merchandise, and I've got Cobra Commander posters, Kiss posters, a very rare from the movie theater Trick or Treat Sammy Kerr poster.
Oh, nice.
And a couple of original Kiss posters, Destroyer and the Alive with the Bill Aucoin management in the corner. So those are official originals.
Awesome. Nice. So usually when I have somebody on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So originally, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Rambo or Chuck Norris. I wanted to.
Nice.
Those guys were like my heroes. The Beastmaster movie was one of my favorites. I wanted to be the Beastmaster for a while, but Chuck Norris was one of. I mean, literally, he was like my action hero. And the Rambo films were also a big thing for me. I grew up in the 80s, watching Red Dawn. We thought the Russia was going to attack, and I was like, oh man, I was just, I believed all that was going to happen, and I had this, it was just, that's what I thought the world was going to be. And then I discovered music, and Alice Cooper. I have to give him complete credit for fusing horror and music. And when I saw that combination, it spoke to me, and that's why I do what I do. That's and I love movies. I loved all that stuff. I watched action movies and horror movies growing up. But like I said, when I saw or heard Alice Cooper and saw his visuals and saw him cutting his head off and having a snake on stage, electric chair, I was hooked.
Yeah, I was going to ask you who some of your early influences in music was, and I figure Alice Cooper is one of them. Do you recall like the first time you saw like something, either Alice Cooper or Kiss or whatever it was, the theatrical call that you felt?
Well, I mean, Alice was the one that really got me into like that style, and I just. But earlier on, when I was younger, my older brother, he had the Kiss Destroyer poster, that I have here. He had on the wall. He had the Kiss dolls. He would wait till my parents would leave, and he'd crank the stereo up and play Kiss, and Kiss looked like superheroes to me. So so I was already kind of into it, but again, I was still into G.I. Joe and He-Man. I really wasn't into music. And then I discovered Alice Cooper, and I put it all together. So Kiss and Alice Cooper are, and Twisted Sister and Wasp are the ingredients of what I do.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when we were kids, like Kiss Meets the Phantom was actually a good movie.
I know, right? We still watch it at least once every tour, and we know it so well. We quote it with the Paul Stanley quotes. You're looking for someone, but it's not Kiss. Star Child. So yeah, we're Kiss nerds. I'll be a Kiss nerd to the day I die. It's just I can't explain it. You don't have to. I'm not alone.
No, you don't, because I'm with you. It was like my first I remember my sister was a big like Leif Garrett and Rod Stewart fan, growing up, and she'd get those albums on Christmas and open them up. And when somebody got her Kiss Alive for whatever reason, she's like, ew, what is this? And then I'm like across the room and I'm like, give me that. And that was it. I was hooked.
Yep.
So what were some of your earliest like horror movies that kind of pulled you into that genre too?
Well, I'm a TV kid. I was the kid that sat in front of the TV, and my parents were like, "You're going to go blind, sit in front of the TV. You're sitting to it too close." Which, now is why everybody's doing the same thing with their phones these days. But I grew up with my mom, my dad, my brother and sister, and my grandmother was living with us early on in a very, very small place, and there was barely any room, so I didn't even like have a bedroom. So I slept on the couch, and the TV was right there in front of the couch. So and I just would watch TV constantly, and then we got the illegal cable hookup of HBO and Cinemax, and my life was changed. I mean, my parents would go to bed. I got to have the TV on. I can't sleep without the TV on. So they go to bed. I'm watching Missing in Action 1, Missing in Action 2, Creepshow, Nightmare on Elm Street, all these movies. When they went to cable, I watched them all. I would stay up all night. Terrifying. Nightmare on Elm Street scared me to death. I remember Creepshow scared me to death. That was one of the very first ones that I watched. And I watched that with my brother and my sister. We stayed up one night, and they were like, "Is it okay if he watches this movie?" And they were like, "All right, well, you better not come crying to me and crawling in our bed later." And of course I did, because I was probably 6 when I saw Creepshow. And that movie was, as a 6-year-old watching it, was terrifying. Every bit of it. And so I remember that one. Like, I remember the setting. I remember the couch, what it looked like, sitting there, biting my nails, watching that. And I think The Crate is the one that really scared me. That story.
Yeah, that's
the
what
one
I was
that
going to ask.
scared me. That was bad. Cockroaches at the end wasn't so bad. Stephen King's thing was kind of funny. But yeah, I thought the first 2 stories, the I Want My Cake, I thought that guy was pretty terrifying. And but I think my favorite, after all these years, my favorite is the Ted Danson, Leslie Nielsen, the beach scene. That's one of my favorites. It's also one of my favorite makeup looks, the colors. Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, I can hold my breath for a really long time.
Yeah, I actually wrote a song about that entire thing, about being buried and waiting for the waves to come in. It didn't make it on this record. So I'll get my Creepshow Hold Your Breath song coming on the next one.
Nice. Yeah, here in Cleveland, we'd have like these little like TV hosts late at night, like Goulardi, and and they would do like the old classic like horror movies and stuff like that. And I remember getting my fix that way. And like my favorites were like the Hammer films.
Yeah, there's some great ones, man. But before we had cable, when you had the UHF channel and you had the rabbit ears and you had to put your tin foil around the rabbit ears to get reception. And I remember Elvira hosted on this channel 48, which could not get the clear channel. And I would sit there every Saturday night, and she would host like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes or whatever. And I'm just like trying to watch through this just fuzz, but I'm still watching it, trying to make out what the hell's going on. So I remember that. And like another early horror thing, I remember probably the very first thing I remember prior to Creepshow was, I think like the local, it was called Channel 18, had a monster movie marathon, and they had with 3D glasses. And if you went to like the local fast fare market and you bought like a Big Gulp or whatever, you got a pair of 3D glasses. And on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they showed Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D. I believe it may have been The Ape with Bela Lugosi, and there was another one they showed in 3D. So that was my very first kind of watching horror movies, but that didn't seem, those never scared me. But the creep shows and those scared me to death as a kid. I loved it. Scared me into looking like this.
And then, like, when did you start getting into like actually performing music and starting bands?
My best friend and I in high school and middle school, we started listening to the same music, and it was just he and I. We were kind of like Bill and Ted. You know, there was nobody like us in our school. We were the little rock and roll guys, and he played drums, and he was trying to play drums, and I was trying to learn how to play guitar, and we would get together. We always hung out on the weekends, so we kind of learned how to play a little bit, and we would play our, you know, whatever Kiss song or whatever we could learn to play, and that's where it started. And I just kept practicing. And I mean, I wasn't even going to be a vocalist. I was a guitarist. That was sort of my deal. And then when I was 15 and I was in high school, I was in my art class, and one of the long-haired guys, wasn't a lot of long-haired guys. He came up to me, and he was an older guy, and he was like, "You play guitar?" I'm like, "Yeah." "What's your favorite band?" I'm like, "Faster Pussycat, LA Guns." And I named a bunch of like newer glam bands, and you know, everybody at school was into metal. You know, I was the only like glam guy. And they were like, so he's like, "Well, we got a band and we're looking for a guitar player." So he went back and told the band that there's a guy in his art class that's really cool, but he just loves glam. I don't know if it's going to work for us. He just loves glam bands. And I came in and auditioned for them when I was like 15, and I think they were playing like they were trying to play a cover of Born to Be Wild, and they had a couple of originals, and I came in and played, and they were like, "Cool, you're a good guitar player. You want to be in our band?" I'm like, "Sure, I don't have anything else to do." So that was our first band. We didn't even have like a vocalist. It was just like four of us just getting together after school every day and playing. And then ended up playing my high school later that year. That was my first gig. And then we did a couple of little house parties when I was like 15. So that was my first taste of going and playing in front of people. And I was super shy. I just put my hair in my face and played. And so yeah, that's my first gigs.
Nice. And then when did the transition happen to vocals?
Well, as I said, we were getting together every day after school, and we didn't have a vocalist. And it just got to the point where we couldn't find anybody. And we had a microphone set up, and I wrote a new song, and I had like lyrics in my head, and I was trying to explain it to the guys. And I just went up to the mic and I started singing, just did it. And everybody just kind of turned and looked at me and went, "Whoa, you sound really cool." And I went, "Do I? Let's do it again." So we played it, and they were like, "Whoa, you can do this the whole time?" And I was like, "I didn't even know I could do this." So they were like, well, you're the singer. You're the singer now. So yeah, we were already two guitar players. So we just went as a 4-piece, and that's how the band became that. It took them telling me, "You sound good." And it was just literally just because we didn't have anybody else. So once I became that, I went, "Whoa, I can do this," because I loved, you know, Alice Cooper was my hero. I'm like, well, fuck, maybe I can like at that time, Skid Row was like at the top of their game. Slave to the Grind had just came out, and they were my favorite band. And I thought Sebastian Bach was the ultimate rock star, voice, hair, everything. Every girl wanted him, and every guy wanted to be like him. And so that was a big influence on my vocal style. Was Alice Cooper with Sebastian Bach range. So if you listen to any of my music, I can hit some of those notes and some of those ranges and I've had people say over the years, like, "Oh, your voice kind of reminds me of Sebastian on this song," or here or there, some of his more aggressive stuff that he used to do back in the day. So that's I think that's the reason why I sound the way I do. Those were my two favorite vocalists, and I somehow sound this way. I don't know. I can't explain it. Thank the rock and roll gods.
And then obviously as time went on, doing it more and more, that shyness kind of went away. And then the performer came out. When was it that you started adding more like the horror theatrics, and or was it when you officially became Wednesday 13 or?
No. I started long. It wasn't long after I became the vocalist in that band. You know, again, at this point, I'm like 16 or 17. We've been playing for a couple of years. But once I became the vocalist and I started writing lyrics, you know, all I know about is movies and stuff. So of course, everything I write about was movie related. And like I said, I was the glam guy. I was the image guy that liked all the bands, you know, like Kiss and Cooper and Wasp. And the other guys in my band really weren't into the image thing. So I had to, before the theatrical thing, I had to almost kind of convince them, hey, why don't you start dressing up like this? Why don't you wear this hat and you do this? And then we became characters. And then once we became the characters, then that's when the theatric stuff began. So I've been doing theatrical stuff since 1993 is probably when it fully kicked in. So, you know, like I said, my high school band, after school band turned into a band 2 or 3 years later. We were playing the local scene. We were playing like, I was playing at night and getting home at 4 a.m. and going to school the next day. So, but we were doing well, but we became the weirdo band in town, and everybody would come to see us because it was just like, the band was called Maniac Spider Trash. And
Nice.
we had garbage cans on stage full of toys. We had stuffed animals. It was just, I can't even really explain it. It was just weird. Every show we did something weird. Like I'd be in a playpen, a baby's playpen on the stage, and would sing out of that. I had a trampoline on stage. I mean, it was some of the dumbest stuff. So once I started doing that in that local scene and seeing the reaction from a small crowd, I'm like, man, if I could just get in front of a bigger audience and do this, and my brain just always thinking, what's next? And that's what created what I do. And so when I formed my band Frankenstein Drag Queens, which was prior to Murderdolls, that band was just full on, just craziness, theatrics, and we had a lot of great songs. And then that band disbanded, and I became Murderdolls with Joey. And then I started Wednesday 13 in 2003. So it's been I've been doing this for a long time, and it's the only thing I feel like I'm really good at.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's where it was in the timeline. I thought you took a break from Wednesday 13 to do Murderdolls. I didn't realize that came before.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was basically Frankenstein Drag Queens was up till 2000, and then I did Murderdolls 2001 to 2003, and then I started Wednesday right on that hiatus of Murderdolls because I didn't know because Joey went back to Slipknot. I didn't know how long it was going to be, so I put that together right then, and luckily I had a fan base off of Murderdolls, and the fans follow me over to that, and I'm able to be here today and talk about releasing my 9th album, which is insane. I'm already on number 9,
Okay, yeah. So then, were you the Wednesday 13 persona going into Murderdolls though?
Yes, I started using the Wednesday 13 name in 1994.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So I was using that in Frankenstein Drag Queens, everything up till then, and yeah, so that's just always been my name. And again, the name was a combination of Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family and the Monsters address 1313 Mockingbird Lane. So I put Wednesday 13 together. It was kind of like an Alice Cooper. Is it a boy? Is it a girl? What is this name? It also sounded futuristic. It had a number in it. So it also had that Motley Crue, Nikki Sixx kind of, I just wanted something spacey, weird, Ziggy Stardust from another planet name. And there's no other Wednesdays but Wednesday 13 and Wednesday Addams as far as I know. And I finally just met the original Wednesday Addams about 3 weeks ago, and it was amazing. And I'm like, she goes, I know your name. And I went, well, of course, I got a great review.
Nice. So yeah, just talk about the new album, Horrifier. Comes out October 7th.
Yes.
And you said this is your 9th studio album?
Yes.
And we were talking about like horror movies that really freaked us out. And I watched your video for Hideous, and that, you know, was a perfect homage to The Exorcist, I thought. But that was one of those movies that really, you know, freaked me out as a kid, because it was just like, you know, that whole spiritual aspect.
You don't have to explain. I was the same way. I have The Exorcist tattoo right here on my arm. So that's been a part of my life for a long time. And the reason why that movie is so memorable for me is I remember, like I said, I was the TV kid. I'm always sitting in front of the TV, and I'll never forget The Exorcist when they premiered it on ABC television, Sunday night movie. Parents are all sitting in, and it was like The Exorcist, and my mom was terrified. She believed it. She was, you know, we lived in North Carolina. We're in the Bible Belt, where there's a church on every corner, and everybody, you know, so she believed this. And I just was, and you know, when you're that young, you're looking at your parents, and if they're scared, you're like, what? You're scared. And that movie always had an effect on me. And I've noticed as growing up, people my age and stuff, if you grew up like that, you kind of have the same feeling about that movie. It wasn't funny. It was terrifying. No one had ever seen anything like that.
Yeah, and then like I was raised in the Catholic Church. I was an altar boy and stuff like that. So then that, you know, I had all that in the back of my head, and I'm just like, damn, this is like legit. Is he going to jump in me? You know, I better be good, you know? And then you finally, you know, get tired of jumping through all those hoops, and it's like, all right, I guess I'll let it happen.
I've had a lot of people say that were with Catholic school, like that movie affected a lot of those people like the most, it seems like, you know. So but yeah, man, it's still got an impact. It's still just as good as it was. It aged amazingly. It's such a cool movie, and just to be able to try to replicate that for a music video, it was so much fun. I got to do the whole vomit scene in the face for the video, which was when we were filming that, they were like, all right, what are we going to do for the vomit? And I was like, they're like, let's get some pea soup. And I went, gross. I don't want it. I'm not going to eat pea soup. I don't want it on me. What can we do? And I went, what if we go get yogurt and get green food coloring, and we'll make it look like that, and you guys just throw yogurt at me. So that way, if I eat it, it's not, you know, I'll be all right with it. So, but we had to film that. We had to film that scene, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, and they emptied an entire thing of yogurt on me. So by the time I'm done, I'm so covered. It wasn't in the actual video. You just see it a little bit, but at the time we were filming it, I was covered in it so much. And then it started to dry and just started flaking. So everywhere I went, it was just like crust yogurt. It took me a couple hours to get clean after that.
No, the effect was spot on. I loved it. And then I loved the little Easter eggs. I mean, you had the actual like little statue in there, and then you know, with the black and white face from the devil.
That's
demon or whatever.
Well, and that's why we did the video for that, because I've been doing my makeup like the demon inside of her, the Pazuzu character, or Captain Howdy is what he's referred to. And I've been doing that makeup scheme with, you know, on my cheeks, and that I've been doing that for, I don't know, 10 years off and on. In the last tour I did it, and I'm like, what if we recreate it, but I can be the demon and I just do my regular makeup. I didn't have to do anything. It just happened to look like that. So it tied it in together. And I think that's where I got the idea to make an Exorcist video, just based off the makeup scheme. Like, I could pull that off. And then the actress in it, the girl that played the Reagan character, all those effects and everything, that's not special effects. That's her. She's a contortionist, all that stuff.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. She's like,
that's all. She was doing all of that. So that's just, I was so happy with that video. It turned out great. And my goal was not to make it campy, you know, like I wanted it to be kind of serious. And as much as possible, because, you know, we've seen the parodies of that when they made Repossessed in the 80s with Linda Blair and Leslie Nielsen, and did a parody of it, and then Scary Movie did the same thing. So I wanted to try to make it feel as serious as possible, but it is kind of hard sometimes when you're going being serious, going, the power of Christ compels you, and someone's throwing yogurt in your face.
Yeah. No, it was very well done. And then speaking of videos with the devil, I enjoyed I know this was done a while back, but your cover of In Excess Devil Inside video was really good too. I loved all the old school movie shots of like how Satan's been depicted over the years or whatever.
Yeah, that was from a film from like the 30s called Haxans, or the Haxans. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's called Haxans, the history of witchcraft, and it's public domain. So some of those images we got to take and work in with the thing. So it's a really cool film to watch. I think it's silent. They may have added some music to it, but it's like some creepy images. That's the kind of stuff I saw as a little kid, like in the Little Rascals kind of stuff. They would show like the devil and stuff. Sometimes it was creepy.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out then. But you got 20 years now, 20 years of Fear tour.
Yes.
Get ready, as you said, everything behind you, getting ready to go.
Yes.
What is something that still surprises you even after 20 years in the music industry?
Surprises me. Nothing really surprises me anymore. There's so many things. I mean, for me, I'm just very grateful that I've been able to do this for 20 years. I quit my regular day job 20 years ago, and this has been my job, the only thing I've ever done since then. And I'm just grateful that I've been able to do this long, still have the older fans coming to see me, but on top of it, I've got new fans coming in. I got younger kids coming in. I got the older fans bringing their kids in now, and I did it by my own way. I didn't compromise, and you know, for 20 years to be able to do that and be able to go out and to do this and not have radio hit singles or you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I did this very independently, but I've got a very, very supportive, diehard fan base that loves all the stuff that I do. So I try to give them the best that I possibly can every time, the best album cover, the best stage show, the best everything. So they're my world, and I can't do that without them.
Yeah. And you know, I know you guys are going to be coming to Cleveland October 11th during this tour. And I know, you know, Cleveland's always had a special place in its heart for Wednesday 13. There's a lot of followers here and fans. In fact, I think you got one of our own, actually, that performed on the album with you.
Yes. Dan Fox, Cleveland's fucking awesome drummer. Dan came in, helped us out with the drum tracks, and he helped us out with our last tour. But Dan's a busy guy. He's got, I don't know how many bands he's part of, but yeah, he went back to do his stuff, and you know, we're very grateful for him coming and helping us out. And he played great on the record, and and like you said, Cleveland's always been a great place for me. I think my very first U.S. tour ever, Wednesday 13, we played Peabody's, and we played the little small room because they didn't know if I could play the big room. So I played the small room,
Code, whatever.
And the pirate, and it's sold out, and it was the best, the loudest, the craziest, most, you know, reactive audience, and I was just like, all right, Cleveland, you're going to be my place. I can't wait to play on every tour, and it's been like that every year. It's unfortunate, you know, Peabody's closed down, because that literally, it was like, people ask me all over the world, what's one of your favorite venues in the world? I'm like, Peabody's, you know. And
that was like a second home.
Yeah, I mean, and just such a cool audience. They're into it. They outdo all the other towns usually.
I actually got to hang out with Joey there after a Slipknot show at like the Wolstein. They came over to Peabody's, and we were all hanging out, and that's where I got to meet Joey and stuff. So Peabody's definitely a lot of good. And it was funny because we were hanging out with all the Mushroom Head guys. So whatever, the online drama is, everybody was having drinks together and having a good time,
Yeah.
It was part of it there.
Always good times. And there was a pizza place right next to the Peabody's. We'd always go get pizza after the show. So it was just
Rascal House.
Always a good time.
Nice. So I know you said you were short on some time or whatever, but I wanted to ask you a couple quick questions, if that's all right.
Yep.
After 20 years, when did you feel like you had finally made it as an artist, and why was it your appearance on Dawson's Creek?
When I felt like I made it, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I've made it. Not Guns N' Roses level or anything, but speaking of a band like that, I remember Murderdolls doing our probably 3 weeks into being on tour, we flew to Japan and opened up for Guns N' Roses at an arena in Japan in front of like 30,000 people. And I remember standing in front of those people and I went, I did it. I'm here. I'm finally here, from the 15-year-old dude in art class talking about Faster Pussycat to being in front of, and that's when I realized, like, all right, I could do this for forever. And that's what I've been trying to do.
It was like one of my favorite memories, and the first most amazing concerts I ever been to when I was in high school was they used to have this thing called Ticketron before Ticketmaster and stuff. And my sister had some friends that worked at Ticketron, so she scored me some third row center seats for Guns N' Roses, and Skid Row was the support with Sebastian Bach, and it was when Slave to the Grind came out, and it was just before Use Your Illusion was about to come out. It was, I swear, one of the greatest shows ever, man.
I didn't get to go to that concert. My mom wouldn't let me go. I had nobody to take me. I was stuck because to get out to the arena, it was an hour drive. I lived out in the sticks, so I didn't really have any way to get there. But I remember wanting to go to that tour. It was the biggest rock and roll metal circus there, and both of those bands were on fire at that time. Skid Row was giving Guns N' Roses a run for their money because they were the new dudes on the block. And and to answer your Dawson's Creek question, that was a really cool, fun experience for us to go do. I was aware of the show. I had never watched it, even though I had watched 90210 and Melrose. I watched all those shows. I just didn't watch Dawson's Creek. I think I got busy with Murderdolls and recording and just was off my thing, but I knew it was super popular. And the producer loved the band and flew us down and used us on the episode. And they featured 4 of our songs. And we had like a really big segment on it. And it was amazing. It was such a cool thing. And it was my first time. It was, it was different than a video because they would be filming parts with the actors and we had to be in the background moving around like we were playing, but we weren't even playing. We just had to be pretending to be playing. So you just felt like the biggest idiot, so it was crazy. And I remember I brought my daughter there. She was like 4 years old. And every time they'd be like, all right, quiet on the set, everybody. 3, 2, 1, action. And then my daughter would go, Diddy. My daughter, her little country accent. And I'd go, cut. And they were like, all right. They're like, she's adorable, but she's got to get the hell out of here. She's ruining everything. So, and then she had, so they took her outside and Katie Holmes drove her around in a golf cart for an hour or so while we filmed all that part.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's crazy.
That's quite a memory, man. So I know you said you were short on time, but I got a couple questions I normally ask my guests. I'd like to ask you really quick. What class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school?
Class. There should be a mandatory music class. That's what I think. People need to learn about music, and maybe it'll like if there was no music class in my school. If I could have had that, that would have been maybe I wouldn't have hated school so much. But
Yeah.
That would be my thing, because music can change people's lives, you know.
Definitely. I agree. Yeah. I mean, it seems like, when we're isolated, during like the past couple of years, everybody was at each other's throat online, and then those same people you were arguing with online, you're both banging your head together at a music festival, and all that stuff's forgotten, man.
Exactly.
And then 3 people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today.
3 people. I've said Alice Cooper's name I don't know how many times in this interview. Alice is my rock and roll hero. Just everything he's done, his career, how he's the way he's released music, how he was never put into a corner to do one style of music. He's tried almost everything from industrial to whatever. And so I definitely think that Alice Cooper is a big part of that. And I mean, musician wise, Dee Snider of Twisted Sister, he's my other favorite frontman. I think he's probably definitely top 5 greatest frontman of all time in my book. His energy, his on stage banter. I learned how to curse on stage because of Dee Snider. It's the way he said "motherfucker" or whatever. I was like, yes. And Alice didn't talk, so he was another big part of that. And I guess the other person I would say that musically, I don't know. That's a hard question. I don't know. Those are my 2 like rock heroes that I looked up to, and but I guess the other person would probably be my dad. He's the other one that made me who I am. He was I see you have your Army stuff here. My dad was a 9-year Vietnam vet, Bronze Star, won the Bronze Star in Vietnam. He taught me how to, I guess, be a gentleman, respect, all of that. So those are my 3 people that made me, shaped who I am.
Awesome. And then favorite toy as a child?
Favorite toy as a child was the original Stretch Armstrong monster. Not Stretch Armstrong. They had a green monster.
Yep.
And you can't even find these things anymore because they eroded, they deteriorated. The chemical inside of it that made them stretch was a toxic chemical, and it started to leak out of kids. And the only thing you can find this day is the box and the head. I'm a toy collector, I know all this. You can only find the head of it. But I received that for Christmas. My earliest memory, I was probably 4.5. That's what I'm trying to think, 4 years old. I remember opening it up. I screamed and I threw it. They had to hide it from me. They kept it in a closet for a month after Christmas because I couldn't look at it. And one day my mom opened the closet to get the vacuum cleaner, and I saw it, and I was like, I want it. And they took it out, and they could not separate me with it. I held the thing like a baby, and I played with it so much, all of the chemical inside started oozing out. So I think they may even had a recall on them or something. And my parents, remember them taking it away from me to throw it away. And I was like screaming, like they're taking my child from me. No, no.
Yeah, like
so that was my earliest toy memory. And yeah, I wish that thing was still, I wish I could find an original one of those. That would be number 1 in my toy collection. But as far as I know, they don't exist.
I remember that one.
Yep.
And then we touched on your dad's service to our country and military. You got any message for our military members currently serving overseas?
Thank you for what you do. My dad, all of his brothers, all military guys. I told you when I was younger, I wanted to be Rambo. And then I realized, I wanted to be a rock star, so yeah. And I have a lot of soldiers, that I meet on tour that love Wednesday 13 and love Murderdolls, love all the music. So yeah, man, it's just, I think I would have, if I wouldn't have found rock and roll, I probably would have ended up in doing military service or something.
Nice. Well, hey, I appreciate you giving me the extra time and talking with me today. There's so much more I'd love to talk to you about, but I know you got to get to another interview. But for any fans out there that want to try and catch the tour, or maybe new to learning about you, want to learn more, where would you send them?
The official website has all the links to all the other social media pages, but it's officialwednesday13.com. There's a link there to our Facebook and Instagram pages, which is where I normally do all the all of my social medias. I'm always updating stuff. My Instagram page is Mthrfckr Wednesday 13. Someone stole the Wednesday 13 name before I could take it on Instagram, so I just used one of my old song titles. So if you but yeah, that's where I post most of my stuff. But you can get all that information to merchandise and everything on the website.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for your time. Can I ask one last favor before I let you go?
No problem.
You mind cutting a promo ID for the show? Just introduce yourself. You're listening to today's Boondoggle.
On today's Boondoggle. Yep. Just go anytime.
Yeah.
Right. Hello. This is Wednesday 13, and you are watching today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to supporting you guys when you come through Cleveland.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much. It was nice chatting with you.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right, man. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.